Welcome to Bullets Nation, the podcast by Bullets fans for Bullets fans. I'm your host, Tracy Malone, a Bullets member since we came back into the league 10 years ago. In sporting teams, players change, coaches change, and staff move on. We don't Bullets fans, we're the constant. We've been here since the early days and we'll still be here when the next banner goes up. This is our space to talk about our team at length. No 30-second hot takes here. We're here for real hoops chat. We love this club, we argue, we cheer, we ride every run and we carry every loss. So settle in and suit up. If you're Bullets family, you're at home here. This is Bullets Nation. Let's tip off today by welcoming my co-host, Cameron Porlock.
Hello there. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I've had one Sunday off, people. One Sunday. I got one Sunday to do absolutely nothing. So I was just relaxing into my first Sunday off, and then the Bullets went and did something awesome. We've had members forums before, and they said they do them every so often. We were not expecting another one until probably midway through the off season or start of the pre-season or something like that. So when we got an email last Tuesday to say Thursday night they're doing a members forum, I was like, all right, we'll dust off the equipment again and we'll get amongst it. Because I'd had people asking me, it's been 10 days, Tracy, and I know you said you were having a break, but surely you've got something to say. It's like, not yet. Not yet. Yeah. If anything significant happens and there's a build-up of things, I'm not coming on for just 30 seconds. I'll do something. And the Bullets did something. So here we are.
Yes.
And so Thursday night, we had the members forum with CEO Malcolm Watts and our new head coach, Will Weaver. And here's what they covered. So we'll just go through what they covered. So everyone has the information that we were given. About 40 of us turned up, and that was with 48 hours notice. So it's cool that there are the regulars. We just always show up, and it's so cool that they keep putting this on for us. Will's looking for a school for his son. First of all, that's one of his most important things to do as a dad.
Yeah, my 2 cents for him there if he wants to listen, and it's all dependent on where they intend to live. But Ipswich Grammar, it's a great school. It's got great sporting programs, not just for basketball, but its basketball program is pretty damn good as well. So Lamar Patterson can probably attest to that.
Yeah, nice. Will went on to speak about what he loves about Australia because he's been here before and he's looking forward to not only what he can do for the club, but the opportunities he's giving his son by allowing him to grow up in Australia, which is pretty cool. He said he'd been aware of this project at the Bullets for a long time. He's had friends and colleagues that have worked here. And this place, Brisbane and the Bullets, have always been discussed as a place that has the most potential in the NBL. That's a nice way to say you suck, but you could be great. And he said a lot of people say Brisbane was their favourite city and they'd like to live here someday, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
He was approached to sort of gauge his interest, and that was by Jason Levian. All of the original talks were Jason Levian and Will Weaver, and that started to take place in December. So he was working with the Charlotte Hornets, and he took the time to speak to Jason. And what he said was, because we had a lot of criticism. A lot of people had a lot of criticism for Jason Levian and that majority ownership group last year. What shows the character of people is how they respond to criticism and the hard times, in my opinion. And we had every right. The things that they've done to Swansea Football Club and things like that, there's a very good reason for us all to be critical of what the majority ownership were doing. But from all reports, it seems that Jason Levian has not stopped behind the scenes and he's actually done some really great things. So credit where it's due. Always
Absolutely.
Credit where it's due. So Will said it was clear that Jason was even more energetic than he'd ever been about getting this thing right. And he said he'd been investing in lots of different ways, but there is a big gap in terms of what the focus was and the intent and what the results were. Yeah. And so that's what Will and he spoke about a lot. How do we bridge that gap and how do we actually make it happen? He said that he spoke to Ben Hahn as well and other stakeholders, and then it got released to the media that they were having talks.
Yeah, and I guess it's that where Jason was talking about getting things right, they've done some things right, but not others. And for me, it's been a lot of the off-court stuff that they've gotten right, and it's getting that on-court stuff that that's where they've struggled. And so I think this signing of Will is definitely a good step in that direction.
Yeah. And what I really like about the signing of Will is the time it took to get it done.
Yeah.
I actually really like the length of time they took. They didn't rush. It wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. It wasn't, we've got to do something. Let's just throw at the first person to say yes. They worked through this deal and it went back and forth quite a few times. There are still some questions that haven't quite been answered yet, but there are some I don't think we will have answered. We can talk about that as well as the questions come up from the members forum. So even in that moment when it was kind of released to the world, Will Weaver said that Jason had a calmness about him and a level-headed focus towards an outcome that was realistic and lofty. He said that at the same time, those gave me a sense that there might be a set of people that would be a really good match for Will's skill set. And he said he's been refining that over the years in continents around the world, but there's nowhere like here. And there's no opportunity bigger than this one. And there's no challenge bigger than this one.
Certainly is.
Yeah, that's truth if we've ever heard it, isn't it? And all of that is what got me to a place where I was not just willing to meet my family, as in the Bullets, but excited to meet my family. So he really wanted to come in and do this. This is where he wants to be. And what I like about all of that is that it's very honest. There's a lot of honesty in there. There is no bigger challenge and there is no bigger opportunity. And so he's ready to take that on. He's not coming in thinking it's not going to be hard and big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we got to questions from members. May I just say, every single members forum I've been on with the Bullets, everyone asks great questions.
Yeah.
Every question, I'm like, well done. Well done. Didn't even think of that one, guys. That's a great question. Nicely done. Do you know who you will recruit in your coaching staff? So let's talk about that. Vandy and DMAC were let go, which was kind of all in our expectations, but so many of us were just hoping that Vandy, and not DMAC, like DMAC especially, I hope he lands on his feet, and I just hope it was amicable.
Yeah, same here. I think that's the biggest part is that, it was amicable. We kind of all, well, the majority of us felt like it was going to happen, and it just ended in a way that, was respectful of the work that both of them put in, especially DMAC this season.
Over all these years when everyone else has bailed, they've kind of had to stand there and hold the baby.
And cop some of the flack.
Yeah, absolutely. And try and clean up after somebody else's mess. So it's not indicative of their ability to head coach or anything like that. Okay, so how did Will respond? How do you know who you will recruit in your coaching staff? And he said it's been a whirlwind. The first order of business for him was to speak to everybody and get a sense for everyone and from everyone and learn from the people who've been trying to steward the franchise for many, many years through some really challenging circumstances. And you're simultaneously getting calls and messages from people and their representatives about how excited they'd be to move their families to Brisbane and how bullish they are on the prospects of the Bullets reaching new heights. So that's pretty exciting, people.
It is.
So while all that's going on, you're interacting with the players and recognizing that free agency is about to be blown open. So it's all about to happen. And so all of these things are being done in parallel. But what I'll say is that the way that we're going to approach coaching staff is broader than just the way those words suggest. I was very excited by this. I really liked how he answered questions. It made sense, but it also came from a really clear professional foundation. Yep. It's not going to just be coaching staff. It's going to be a properly integrated, holistic basketball operation. And how cool is that?
Yeah.
And everything is pointed towards the players themselves. The way they help players improve their skill, the way we help them achieve career best fitness, this excites me, and he'll talk about this later as well. Yep. The way that we connect with them and their families and the people that love them. Like those are all the things that I think 2020 we can realise is the standard, and we're going to need to find people who can acknowledge that. So he's really setting that standard. He went on to say it does mean doing things a little bit differently than they've been done before and work with a better place to do it. He's setting that real precedence. And what I liked about his answers was that they make sense and they don't sound like lip service. Because
Yeah.
you get a lot of lip
Yeah.
service answers that all coaches seem to say kind of the same thing and none of it really makes sense. And it's like it comes out of a playbook instead of being authentic to who they are. And these answers were great. So Mal Watts then chimed in and said he can attest that the inbox lit up from agents and players and coaches as soon as they announced Will Weaver as head coach. So the next question, is Stu Lash still involved with the club? No. Stu's such a great human being. We wish him well and he's headed back to Colorado. So that was just wrapped up nicely there. The next question, what contracted players are you excited to work with? So he went through the 4 players that we've got contracted. Mitch Norton, he said he's been in the Boomer squad in the past. He's had a chance to obviously compete against him as well, so it's fun to be his teammate. Everyone has a sense of what he's about and what a righteous competitor he is. So happy to have Mitch there. He said Tyrell Harrison is somebody that I've followed for a long time. I'm excited about that. Incredibly talented young guy. Every day I've been in this building, he's been in here at 8 a.m. lifting weights and getting his body right. He's about to go play in Puerto Rico. So that was pretty cool. Jacob Holt is in Frankfurt, just stacking it up. He's making shots and rebounding like an animal. He's even talking about maybe playing another additional league after that one. Don't love that, Jacob. Don't love that for your body. Love that for the skill set and the fitness, but not sure the body needs that. And they are excited to meet face to face before long. And then Tane Murray, who I think everyone got a chance to see last year, the potential that young man has is exceptional. He's going to play in the NZ League and is somebody that obviously had a stellar college career. And I think did a lot with the opportunity that was given to him last year.
Absolutely. I did find it interesting, and it's only that I've just thought of it now as we're going through all this, that there wasn't really any mention of Sam McDaniel in this. He is on I believe he's on a mutual contract.
Or Tristan Divas.
Yeah, well,
So
yeah,
we
I
kind of
think,
know Tristan was
yeah,
going to college.
yeah, we're kind of aware that Divas is going to college, but yeah, the fact that there was no mention of Smack, maybe that was just an oversight. Maybe they have had conversations, but because it is a mutual contract, they're still potentially working through that one. So yeah, I did find it a little bit interesting that his name wasn't mentioned.
Yeah, and Halls has said before that, and the dumbest thing there ever has been is a
Is the
mutual. It just
mutual,
means you
yeah,
don't have the year and you've got to redo the contract.
yeah.
Like you just don't have it.
Yeah.
It's
So
that
yeah,
simple.
that's probably about the only thing that I could suspect, that if he's potentially coming back, they're still working through maybe a new contract, or how
Yeah.
that works. The other thing that I found really interesting, that the forum really reminded me about, was the work that Will has done with the Boomers and those connections with the players he's formed. And it just gives me a lot of hope that he might be able to lure some of those players to the club. And that's kind of really exciting when you have a think about some of those names that exist out there that are still playing and could come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the next question was, are there any specific players you're looking to sign and what are
Yeah.
your realistic expectations for the season? So his answer was, yeah, there's heaps of specific players. I've always followed this league closely because I love the league. I love a lot of the human beings that participate in the league, but there's still been a learning curve to make sure that I'm up to date. And so what I've been doing since I accepted the job is poring over the entire list, not just the players that are under contract, but the players you're going to have to meet on the other teams that are under contract. So he's not just looking at what he wants to put together for his team, he's saying, what's everyone else got? So that will also have an influence of what I'm putting together.
Yeah.
He said, we're restricted, of course, from being able to mention any specific names before the free agency period begins and we can engage with them.
Yeah. So yeah. And I guess this is where we can have a bit of fun with speculating and putting together our rosters that, might work, that we think might work. And as I said, with the players that he's worked with, not just at his previous time in the NBL, but with the Boomers, those possibilities are endless and exciting.
Yeah, I really look forward to seeing who the marquee signing is going to be, the
Yeah,
Aussie
me
marquee
too.
signing is going to be. And if he can land a Tory Craig, I would just be the happiest person ever.
He's
Ever.
certainly lighting it up, isn't he?
Oh, so lovely to watch. Um, Will's response to this question, I'll just say that you can all rest easy because I'm sleeping less than anybody that doesn't have a newborn right now. And that's how it should be, because this time of year, the most important thing that we do is build this building up with high character, high potential committed humans. And 11 of them are going to wear jerseys and give us a lot to get excited about over the next year. So another great question, what do the Bullets need to be able to become a league's winning team? And what time frame are you giving yourself for there to be visible change? Will's answer was, when I think back about the other roles that I've had, I've been fortunate to be a head coach 3 different times on 3 different continents. Each time before it was in a brand new league. This time I've been fortunate enough to come back to a league that I've experienced before. This approach is always the same. It doesn't mean that the specific solutions are going to be identical, but a focus not on outcomes, but a focus on the systems and processes that you build that are sustainable and compound value over time. That's what's going to give you the best, fastest chance for the wins on the table to click over.
That word sustainable is what caught my attention the most when he was talking. For me, it's probably the most important things that needs to be addressed. And yeah, I really get that sense that Will's going to be able to put that in place really well and make whatever he puts in place sustainable for the long term. I think that's what we've been sorely missing.
Yeah, absolutely. And he said in Sydney, when he was in Sydney, I don't think anyone would have guessed that we would have had the chance to reach a grand final and, set the foundation for that program as quickly as we did. That's a credit to the players for buying in and pouring themselves into an incredible effort. And it's, as always, you got to get lucky breaks.
Yeah.
And that is injuries and things like that. And his lucky break, I believe what he was speaking about next was when he coached Sydney. Cooks became a mid-season signing. He became available in the middle of the season
Yeah.
because he said, I don't know if Xavier Cooks is going to become available in the middle of this season, the next Xavier Cooks for the Brisbane Bullets, but you better believe if he does that I'm going to be ready to bounce. And that's where it's really great having him the head of, what is it, president of basketball something,
President
who
of
cares?
basketball operations.
He's running the show
Yeah,
because he can make that decision.
that's it.
He doesn't have to pass it through too many people. And the next question was great. I had this question written down, a list of questions as well, because you've got different kinds of coaches. Some coaches are like Josh King, and they look for a certain type of player and they build a team that they want to run in a certain way and they want it to fit their system. And there are coaches like Brian Goorjian who recruit talent and find a way to make them gel and build chemistry. And Will seems to be more of the latter with his response. The question was, what will be the style of the team play and will that be influenced by the roster? He said, in my view, there's plenty of successful coaches that would disagree with this statement, but I would much rather tailor my preferences towards what players are capable of and focus on the things that made them successful enough to become a professional basketball player to begin with, rather than try to impose what I like or what I'm comfortable with on top of them. And so I think that's in no small part a reason why I've had so many players that have enjoyed our time together, and many of them have reached out asking about availability, which is generous. This excites me so much. Bullets fans get excited. But the style is, there's certain knowns. So the certain known things Will talked about. We know efficient basketball drives winning. We understand what those components are. So it's not like there's a million different versions of what a basketball team can look like. But there is quite a few. And the way we'll be designing our style of play is going to be through how can we create an environment where great things happen over and over and over and over again, and stacking those things up day by day is the way you eventually achieve your ultimate goal.
So yeah, I really like this approach that he's kind of taking. Certainly seems to potentially make recruiting maybe just that little bit easier. It means they're not just focused on finding that particular player to fit with a particular skill set to fit this position. They're able to be a bit more flexible in what they're looking for. And obviously, if people are asking to come, they might be able to slide a very talented person into the team and make that work for them in a way that they know will work for the team and the culture and, their ethos and everything that they're trying to build.
Yeah, in case in point, Sydney.
Yeah.
My God, they put some talent together this season. And even after their first championship game, wasn't it great to see Adelaide get smashed?
Yeah.
Which got fouled off. There's
Yeah.
so many good things that happened in that game. But when they cleared their bench, I was like, we're still just as good as Adelaide starters. There's not much of a dip down when they clear their bench and they sit Davis for an entire fourth quarter.
Yep, I do think the one thing that we might need to take a bit of time is understanding that it will take a bit of time I think with this approach, it'll take time to actually build that. And so, the season may not start off great. That next season may not necessarily be where we want it. It hopefully will be better than this season, but I think it
They'll be going for a finals run in their first year, though. So they'll be going for a minimum of sixth in their first season. So I think we can set our expectation there. But I mean, as Bullets fans, we've been doing this for 10 years now. We know the difference between a good season and a bad season.
Yeah. Yeah, I just look at the Kings season this season, they started off quite slowly. However many rounds in, everyone had them written off. Nah, they're done.
Yeah.
And then Gorge did his work with the players, figured things out, and look where they are now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think that's kind of where we need to have some understanding that things might not start perfectly, but
yeah,
with
I
the
don't
way
see
he
a
works,
championship within the next couple of years, but I think we need to just start building. We just need, I mean, you can't get worse than bottom. We come third last, it'd be like, yay, we're amazing. And just one thing on that as well, two other coaches said the same thing. So Justin Schuler, when he came in, he said it's about stacking days. James Duncan said the same thing, but he called it, we're just chopping wood. And so what I thought was really interesting is three coaches have had the same kind of philosophy, but two of them haven't been able to get it done. But for some reason, I believe this one. And I think it's because, I think the ultimate thing is because so many people are willing to play for him. So many people are wanting to play for him that it says, all right, this is someone who can actually make this happen.
Yes, he's got the runs on the board already that.
Yeah, that proven. And that's the difference, isn't it? Because neither of them had been head coaches before. So they knew it in theory, but in practice they weren't able to make it happen. Yeah. The next question, what do you believe is the single most important item on your to-do list? Great question. He said, well, the dad in me would say pick a school for my son. Theo, g'day Theo. I don't know that Theo's in Australia yet, but welcome when you get here. And Will's wife, we don't know her name. She wasn't mentioned, but welcome to Australia when you get here. And his coach self would say, find the next great Bullets. We're very lucky to get to work in sport, and we're very lucky to get to make a game our job. And the deeper you go in this career, the more appreciation you have the fact that the players are the ones putting their bodies on the line. They're the ones who are suffering after losses and getting all kinds of abuse from sports bettors and all the kinds of things that go along with a lot of glory when it goes well. So I'm dead set on helping the market understand the opportunity that exists here in Brisbane and being really cautious to pick people that fit this place and are as committed to delivering on this as I am. Nice. Next question, another great question. Last season, the players seemed to lack synergy. That's probably a perception. How will this be addressed next year? How do you create synergy? And he said, I really focus on feedback loops. I really believe in the reality of vicious cycles and virtuous cycles. And the better stuff goes, the more people trust you and the more willing they are to try something or give you the benefit of the doubt the next time. And the more likely something good is going to happen again, and on and on and on, and vice versa. So synergy works the other way too. It's like if the wins aren't coming and the shots aren't falling and the health isn't helping, and it's like, man, it's really hard to show up and in front of thousands of people and do your job, and everyone has an opinion about you, and you give your teammates and you give your coach and you give the reporter the best version of yourself. And so, a lot of my work is recognizing, hey, this is a moment where we could start to spin into one of those vicious cycles, and let me intervene on that. So he's talking about catching things early. And more often than that, hey, this thing is starting to, let's get out of the way and let it do its thing. Which is a great answer to a question that I think has always been out of the coach's handbook.
Yeah.
Of a non-answer, really. Next question was, what is the focus for pre-season training to ensure the team is ready to go? I loved this answer. I told every player, Will said, that they are going to be expected to be career best fitness. Bring it on. By the time we see each other as a group, and that ought to be their goal each subsequent season of their career. Because sporting careers go fast. And so it's not just about the Bullets and our chances in NBL 27. It's also about helping educate these guys and helping them achieve their dreams and build careers that can be lasting and fulfill the promise of their own potential. And so you best believe that if there is one thing that I'm going to demand, it's going to be incredible commitment to their bodies and rigorous evidence-based support structure around that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm with you. I really love that talk of career best fitness and having everyone ready to go. We know it was one of those things that DMAC talked about when he took over, that we just didn't have the fitness levels. And so yeah, I think it's something that didn't really help last season with all the injuries we had, so it was hard to get everyone there. But having that focus and drive towards these things, it's just a better look for next season. Things are looking
And
good.
So what I'm hearing there as well, he's not saying that he's going to make sure they get them and the team will get around them and get them into that fitness. It's on you.
Yeah.
It's on you. Need to be the fittest.
Yeah.
Like, I'm handing your health to you. You are responsible for your body.
Yeah.
So let's show us what you can do. So I really, really liked that. Next question, was there ownership involvement in the decision? Absolutely yes. Jason and Will spent a lot of time together. Ben Hahn, local owner, spent some time with you. So this was Mal answering that, but you might want to elaborate on that as well. What is the length of Will's contract? Now, did you hear an answer to that?
Only that it was a multi-year.
Yeah.
I heard
multi-year, but later on, and this is the transcript, so maybe it'll come up and I'll find where it was. But Will did say at one point, in 5 years' time.
Okay. I might have missed that, but yes. Yeah, I certainly
and it
heard
was in
multi-year.
relation to something else.
Yeah.
But he said in 5 years' time. And I was like, oh, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I quite like that. And maybe they don't want to come out publicly with that because so I'm a little bit respectful of what they don't want to put out there. They would have answered that if they wanted that out there, and they kind of did the political talk around it answer. And so that's where I'm really respectful of. If they don't want it out there, it's for good reasons.
Yeah.
So
And
let's just let them get on with business.
yeah,
now.
and I think they've kept it very, very quiet because even in the media, it hasn't been mentioned anywhere that I've been able to find.
Yep. And nobody's questioning it.
Well, no. So I've asked on multiple social medias of those in the media, and it's been silent. So it is definitely being kept quiet, and I'm just like, that's fine. They can keep that quiet. I heard multi-year deal. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And I think this was my question, but it was taken a little bit out of context, because what I was asking in my question was, we heard that Will has possible ownership stake and he's the president of basketball operations and he's the head coach. So I'm like, all right, hold on a second. Where are the checks and balances here?
Yeah.
It's all great to give somebody full control here, but that's an extraordinary amount of control because now who's he accountable to, and how does that chain of command work? So they kind of answered it though. So given the dual head role, it'll be a very collaborative structure, and the way we work, we've had some time together. And I know you have a share of similar thoughts with me on how we do things. So this is Will and Mal Watts. Will Weaver head coach, Mal Watts CEO. So on paper, Will reports into the CEO, but there's a direct link to the ownership as well. It's better the owners and Will have a connection as well. And they're heavily involved, and as is Mal on the day-to-day basis. Will, in terms of your contract length, I mean a multi-year commitment. Do you want to elaborate, I guess, on what's the other part there?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the answer that we got was multi-year, and we'll take it. And if it's 5, I'll be very happy.
Yeah.
And the reason I was asking the questions was I just want to know checks and balances, and we want to know longevity. We want to know, is this because Will's had 2-year appointments in all of his head coaching roles across the world? And so we're like, is this going to be a 2-year thing? Because it's not long enough for us. It's
Yeah.
not okay.
And
So,
it comes into that sustainability and so forth as well. That having that multi-year sort of commitment is what,
yeah.
to be able to set that up is what you really need.
Yeah. And so I'm a little bit excited on the possibility of ownership stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I do have something later on about that, but I can kind of understand why they might want to keep that part of the contract quiet. And I know that it came about because it was in a Matt Logue article on probably Code Sports and, the Australian and things like that, which is where it sort of came from. So I kind of get them wanting to keep that side of things a little bit more private and so forth. But I also look at it in terms of, when they announced Bogut for the Kings having part ownership of his contract, and that was a great thing for them to know that Bogut would then be sticking around even after his tenure as player finished. He would still be there in some capacity as owner. And so that's where, if Will did have those shares as potential ownership after his contract finished, then that also gives you optimism for the future of the sustainability of what he's introducing and bringing in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it works both ways. So whilst we would love to have transparency, there are some things that we're
Yeah.
just not going to know. And
Yeah.
maybe we're
And
not
that's
meant
fine.
to. As long as things start being delivered, I think we'll all just forget about that in good time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he went on then just to speak about the collaboration really between his coaching role and Mal's front office role or you know corporate versus basketball side of things, and they just spoke about how they're going to work together and that they feel like they've got a good working relationship already and they're going to build on that, and one
Yeah.
doesn't work without the other. So whilst they look after separate sides, it does not mean that they're not going to collaborate in any way. We didn't have a GM on the ground here. So this is what Mal said. A lot of the members had raised that. And you can say as a concern, I think when we're looking at putting it together, a big part of it was backing Will and Will's experience and expertise, alleviating the middleman opposed to saving on an extra role. So the Bullets weren't saying we won't have it because we can save money here. And what they were looking at is if Will has both those roles, they're taking the middleman out and they're giving Will what he wants and letting him actually run with it, which I think is a really positive thing. And giving Will the authority to have the final say on the roster. And the flip side to that is as an organisation, it means that Will is truly accountable for those decisions. So we can't say like we did with DMAC, well, maybe he is a great head coach and he just didn't get to choose his team or didn't get any say in it. And maybe Stu Lash the same thing, because who created this team in the first place? Who put it together?
Yeah.
And so this is where we're taking all of that out. Thank goodness. When you hear it like we have every right to be concerned when we heard about the structure, and now Will's in, it's like, this is a good thing. This is a very good thing. They're just taking out all the roadblocks and they're giving him full control. And the two of us, Mal and Will, are locked up in terms of how we're going to be synergistic.
Yeah. And so this was, as we sort of had already mentioned, that we were talking about this all season, as well as a lot of other people, and having, that GM of basketball role. And while having one person doing two jobs seems a little bit risky to a degree, I just get a sense that Will is more than capable of doing both. And I feel very optimistic that he'll have the right people in place in terms of his assistants and all that to help alleviate some of, the pressures that he has as a head coach so that he can focus on some of that more GM type work that he'll need to do throughout leading up to the season and so forth, and even during the season.
Yeah. So basically, he's got the clean slate to run the basketball side, and
Yeah.
Mal is doing the business side. So Will said, Mal's got a massive amount of responsibility on the business side, and I'll be doing a symmetrical amount of work on the basketball side. And where those things overlap, we're going to work together to try to get the best outcome possible. So the next question was from somebody it was about memberships and how are you going to reward loyal members, because there's a lot of people whose seats were sold next to them for a lot cheaper. And to the club's credit, they answered the question honestly, which is, we didn't get political speak here, everyone. We got the truth, which was members are really important to us and we need to make sure we're offering something that's of value. And certainly for members who are looking to come to every game and have the same seat all season, no better way to do that than by getting a full season membership package. What they just basically said was they do offer more stuff. And they were right in everything that they say. They said these members forums, a lot of clubs do not offer members forums, so they give those to us. They have the CEO and players up in the members bar. And they have Cash as that point of membership person that people can see at every game. So they have that facing value there as well, front facing person there as well. So she just reminded us, this was Kate, was just reminding us of everything that they do, which is really important as well. Then they were just really honest and they said, when your team's losing, it's really hard to get people at a game. And we had to try and get bums on seats and we were doing the best we could. And so we had to heavily discount things. And what they did say was that seat next to you that was sold really cheaply, it was not sold really cheaply for the whole season. It was sold at the normal price and the higher price. And then the worse we went, then the less people were coming. And so the more we had to drop it. So it happened over time and it's not something that they ever want to actually do. Yeah. What they actually want to do is have it sold out and everyone paying full price and members getting the discount.
Which is kind of what we said in our members season end of season review sort of episode, was that, had the team been winning, you could almost guarantee that those seats would be full price. It was a horrible season and they needed the bums on the seats. Yeah.
They needed to adjust. And something that they did, Mal Watts went on to say, he takes those comments too from both Kate and I. We're not beating our chest saying we did a fantastic job. We're obviously putting the effort in, but we can certainly improve the experiences for members and do a better job. And that's when we come out of season, we review what we're doing and what we've delivered. Where can we improve? And let's take that feedback. Let's listen. Let's just improve on the experience. So I sympathise. I don't want you guys feeling that you're not heard and not listened to. And in the last couple of years, you'll see that we make changes. And they have. We wanted to hear more from Mal Watts and he came up to the members bar, and then we didn't want to hear from Mal Watts again because we were sick of the same old stuff being said. And so then he stepped down off the stage and put Cash up there. Like, we've got to give credit where it's due, people. We've got to give it where it's due. And they're always striving to be better. And next year will be evident of listening again. Yeah. So that was, I just think it was a really honest response.
Yeah.
So it was great. Okay, then we had more members' questions. Tanya asked if there were plans for Will to be a part of the ownership group. So she asked directly. And if you hadn't considered that, is that something that you would consider? And Will answered by, is that my mum? Has my mum entered the chat? She wants him to have ownership rights too, do the bidding for him. So Mal basically came in and said those types of discussions we keep in-house. So it's just basically very simple things. That's contract negotiations. They're not going to give publicly the contracts for everything. Their employment agreements are meant to be respected. So I think Will said then, can I also just add one thing on that topic, which is that I'm responsible for the way that we share information as it relates to our players' health, our players that we acquire, our players that we release. And I think for obvious reasons, there's real sensitivity about that for a human level and also from a competitive level. And I'm a hard family member to play Monopoly with. And so my focus is on trying to deliver for the diehards, the people who are on 6:30 on a Thursday night and listening to two guys talk about a team that won't play a game here for another 150 days. I like that he knows how many days it is.
Yeah.
So if there's ever a moment where you're like, man, why aren't the Bullets telling us about the status of X or the progress of Y? The answer is because we're trying our very best to get the every edge across every vector and also communicate with and for you guys first, not through some media outlet to be perceived to be on it. No, we're actually on it. Okay. So that was a cool answer.
Yeah. I really liked that. So, and it kind of, I sort of throw this back to, the announcement of him being signed, that it was actually dropped on X by a certain media person first before the Bullets had an opportunity to release that to the fans. I was actually quite disappointed that that person did that.
Yeah. So he obviously has ties to managers or something.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yes. And it has been commented on that Olgun does this on a regular basis, drops news before he probably should, and not letting the team announce it for the fans.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one in particular, I was quite disappointed. I think they deserved the right to announce that to the fans before anyone else.
Look, I agree. And, it seems like Olgun's been putting in his place by a few people recently. Ariana Prather certainly had a go at him and said, don't talk about the old man Prather and his injuries and then ask for an interview. Like,
Yeah.
what? You cannot do that. And so, yeah, and she had a go at him. DJ Vasiljevic had a go at him as well, but DJ was mean. Ariana was professional, clear, said it how it was, and DJ just called him a waste of time or a nothing or a nobody or something. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that doesn't need to happen. That's a bit silly. But DJ's from Adelaide, so we know how they play their game. It's certainly not wired that way. Felix Van Hoff called them bogans last night. He said all the bogans down in Adelaide. He's getting them riled. He wanted them yelling by the time the next game came about.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
great. I must have missed that one.
Yeah, he said it on the broadcast last night. He just slipped it in. I think it was just before the game was about to start, or maybe after the game finished. I can't remember. Yeah. Okay. So the next question, this was Ronan's question. Sorry if I've got your name wrong, buddy. We all know who you are. You're the legend who always shows up and asks lots of questions.
Absolutely.
He said, what are you thinking about the members bar? Are you going to keep it or are you going to move it? And Mal did reply and say their preference, as we thought, was to have it where they had it last time.
Yeah.
And do what they did on a bigger scale. And the entertainment centre at Boondall had a different view. We're going to take that back to them to push really hard to see if we can open that back up and have that space downstairs left as our members' own. We need a bigger space. So what they're looking for is to have the bigger area and have some artists in the corner. So some people playing music. Matt.
Yep, Matt.
Come on, Matt. Get in there. Get in there and play your guitar, mate. We need you in there. Warm your voice up for the Boom Squad. Having some past players and giving some inside information. So they're going to keep that going. So they're wanting to have a bigger setup. Damien asked the next question. Taking on the two roles for Will, is that so you're going to be here long term and retiring in Queensland? We're all kind of looking for that commitment, aren't we?
We are.
But is that your plan? So he said, we know you're taking on the role as head coach. So basically what Damien was saying was you've got two roles and you can be a head coach for 3-5 years and then you can actually let go of the coaching role and step up into just the GM role. So he's saying, is that like a long-term plan to do one and then step to the other? This is where he said it. Because Damien said, and then you can stay here for the next step of life and retiring on the Gold Coast with 4 premierships under your belt. And Will Weaver said, I like the way you think. I'd love to retire in 5 years with 4 premierships. That's
Yeah.
where he said 5 years. I was like, I heard it. I heard 5 years somewhere. That sounds pretty good. I have to admit, like, no one cares about what their business card says. It came up in conversation the first time I was having discussions with Jason Ben and the like, and they were asking him, what do you want the title to be? And he said, I couldn't care less. What works? What work needs to be done? And whatever you guys want to call it, makes it easier to do that work, I'm in for it. So he did not choose the title. And so at no point did I ever ask for a revision, or do I even really care what the words are that people referred to me by. I don't even like being called coach quite often, because it's like, I'm your colleague, I'm Will. And he's got a nickname. I'm Dream in certain settings. So Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver.
Yeah. It's actually funny. I think I played that song somewhere because I heard that mentioned previously. He had said that he was known as Dream, and that was where my mind went when I heard it.
Yep.
And I think it was during the forum, and I was trying to find the song on Spotify.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. So Will the Dream Weaver is his nickname. I love it. And he said every Aussie's got to have a nickname, which is what I was about to say. Okay, so what did he go on to say? He just really said his role is having everything to do with fixing what needs to be fixed as quickly and sustainably as possible. That if there's ever a doubt, this is for the avoidance of doubt, that I'm the one that's going to be charting a course for this as it relates to the basketball team. A lot of this week has been working on structure. What's the structure look like under Will to get the best support around Will? So I'm guessing that's Mal Watts saying that. Yeah, so Mal Watts answered this question, and he said Will has to be coaching, and he's taking all these calls from us. We're going to have a structure which Will's frankly building out, and based on his recommendations on how this is going to work to get the best support structure around Will to deliver on what we need to do. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Matthew Lee then came in and had his basketball team there at training.
It was very cool.
Yeah. He asked for advice. He said, what advice can you give these boys here? They haven't had a great season. And he said, play a lot of basketball, play as much basketball as you possibly can, and push yourselves. And if you want to improve, you can't be doing stuff that's easy. He said, play people that are better than you.
Yep.
And that's how you get better. So it was a really cool answer.
Yeah, I really like that answer. As someone who was coaching a Division 4 under-14s team who was playing Division 3 teams and getting flogged on a weekly basis, but I can attest that my players got better very quickly.
Yeah. And all the young guys that we had on roster this season, the season's not even over yet.
I know.
This past season,
Yeah.
they all are going to get better from what they had to go through.
Absolutely.
They were meant to be down the bench guys, and they got out and played and played and played. Yeah. So Michael and Collie asked a question then. We've seen some clubs go with 2 marquees, 2 imports, some 3 imports, 1 marquee. Have you got a preference there, or is that again going to be based on availability of players? And Will went on to say, it's for certain something that sits downstream of other people's choices. The market has realised that there's real value in Aussies and Kiwis and their ability to punch above their weight. So I love that he's got so many cool little Aussie terms in there. So there's a lot of lucrative basketball playing opportunities in Japan and the NCAA on 2-way contracts in the NBA and in Europe. So our league's got to do a better job of making it clear what the value is of being part of our league. I agree, Will. And this is where Larry has done such fantastic things for the year, but I listen to people like Chris Ponggrass and now Will Weaver, and I'm like, oh God, I hope they all sit together in a room and Larry listens to these guys, because they can actually do really great things to help the league as a whole. Will went on to say, it doesn't make sense for everybody over the last few years. You've seen a real tightening of that market, which leads to smaller supply and increases the costs. And so the approach that we're going to take is that we're going to be really principled about, look, we're not going to be the highest spending team in this league. Did he get side eyes from Al Watts at that point?
I thought there was a side eye. I think I commented on it in our chat. I thought there was a side eye from that comment, but I also, that just could have been me reading into it.
I didn't see it. And so there are real constraints that are reflected in the decisions we're going to make, which just speaks to our need to be even more prepared and more flexible and more agile. As I said earlier, we're in the information gathering phase, and also we're pitching ourselves as a platform, as an opportunity for people to come and do what probably everybody doubts can be done, and take a 6-win team and build something that's undeniably on a different course. 6 wins. God, that's terrible.
Yeah, I quite like that he's put it out there that we're not going to be the highest spending team in the league. And he had already mentioned that on one of his other interviews that he's done. I think it was one of the ones maybe the Bullets put up, or even the NBL one now that he did with Peter Hooley. He had mentioned that. I just think that's good to be tempering those expectations now of fans to go, we're not going to be spending huge amounts to try and get us to that top.
So we can't buy a championship like Adelaide have been trying to do,
Yeah,
but, you know, Lamana's got us to the finals with a
yeah,
budget that was the worst, the smallest in the league. Yeah. So
absolutely.
it is anything's possible. He went on then to say, and we're going to make sure that our roster has the capacity to ask questions that on many nights other teams won't be able to have the answers to, which I thought's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I think that's what we saw in the game one of the finals. It's like Sydney were answering questions that Adelaide didn't even know they had asked. And just before you think about that question, we'll chop the head off that snake as well. And they're like, oh, we didn't even think of asking that question. Ronan came in and said, please keep Prather. Which has been your favourite team to coach, was the question from Ronan. And he said the Boomers, which was a cool answer.
yeah,
The experience in 2014, the first of my 6 years working for Australia, made me realise that a basketball team could be something different than what I had experienced up to that point. And it was my first touch point while with the country of Australia. I'd never travelled here before. I was the only foreigner on the team in any respect. 6 years later, I'm coaching here in Brisbane, representing Australia as the head coach, getting to coach Josh Giddey and Sam Frolling and a bunch of other guys in their debut. And that's still the greatest honour of my career. And Jacob Holt and I had a really nice moment the other night when we talked about how meaningful it was for both of us, a Canadian and me, a Yankee, getting to be introduced to that community of people. It's a tier unto itself. So I thought that was really cool too.
yeah. I really like that. And that, that's a great connection for him and Jacob as well to sort of kick off their career together.
Yep. Yep. Okay, so then came my question. What was my question? When we see teams play, I know what a Josh King team looks like, and I know what a Brian Gorgon team looks like. What does a Will Weaver team look like? What are we going to see, and how do we know it's going to be your standpoint? I always love this question because it makes them extrapolate a bit. And he said, I'm a problem solver. I really do. I think of this game and a lot of game as one where you're trying to assess and react and make really great decisions. And so I know that in my case, I've never made a great decision with somebody screaming over my shoulder while I was trying my best to figure out something, a really tough puzzle. And so I think the way that I'll be made quite different than other coaches you might be more familiar with. Certainly know Coach Bennett and I probably have a difference in this, in the way that we might act on the sidelines, is that I'm trying to think about what's next and I'm trying to help as much as I can because I've seen how that can be useful. And I haven't really been given much evidence about how doing anything else can be helpful while games are going on. And then we go into the change room and we watch the film, and there's for sure emotional aspects to like the frustrations that can happen or the excitement that can happen when a player finally achieves something that you've been working on with them for a long period of time. But I think the answer to your question is you're going to know it's a Will Weaver team when the players are the ones, I love this so much. The players are the ones solving the problems because of how we've prepared and because of the spirit that we've inculcated in our team. And so the less I'm doing, the better things are going.
Yeah.
How
It's
cool
a
is that?
great response.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's really hard to say what is your team, because people say they're going to be a great defensive team. I mean, we got that. How many times did we get that?
Got that
No,
every year.
boo, didn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
what
I
I
just,
liked about it.
yeah, and I can see that too. I can see that happening on court, and it makes more sense than any other response. So somebody asked then about how Will became involved with the Boomers, and he went on to tell us that story. We won't go into it, but I will tell you something that was very exciting about that. And he said, but to this day, those guys I've got to be with on that journey, one of them I got to see the other day, Aaron Baines, has a special place in my heart. So he's already met up with Banger.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is something when he was talking about the holistic approach and having the assistants and stuff to help. Or having people to help with that holistic approach. My mind goes to bringing people like Aaron Baines in to work with certain players on their skill sets and get them up.
And yeah, because so the key things he said when I'm always looking for the keys is like, why is this guy great? He recognized that the Boomers was the first time he could see that a team could be something more than a basketball team. And so then he's gone on to try and create that consistently everywhere he's been since then. So why would he not go after a few Boomers to
Yeah,
try and bring that culture into the Brisbane Bullets? And
yeah,
how could that not be anything but a
yeah,
fantastic thing to do? So that's
yeah,
how I kind of see that.
yeah. That's how my mind sort of, as he was speaking, I'm just like, there's, even, Paddy Mills, bringing him in, even if it's not as a player, it's as a
Culture guy.
consultant. Yeah, culture
Can you just
consultant.
come in and have a word to the fellas?
Yeah. Yeah,
Come
work
and
with
talk to
them
the
throughout the
team.
season and stuff like that as we need and things like that. That's where my mind went when he was talking about all of that. And he was talking about his connections with the Boomers.
Yeah. Yeah. So I then went on to ask, there was nobody in the line. So I thought I'm going to keep putting my hand up because we had a few minutes left and I got a few more questions in everyone. I was very excited. So I asked a specific question and I said, we don't feel like in the 10 years we've been here that we really nailed the point guard position yet. And he said, it's hard, Tracy. He did not say, I'll nail it. I've got it covered. I know what to do. He said, it's really hard. And I said, what kind of a point guard are you going to be bringing in for us? How he answered that question is for point guards, he said, there are just really, really like so many commas, it's hard to count them. And he went on to say that every coach can viscerally feel the difference when the person carrying the ball is calm, aggressive, and decisive. One of my favourite colleagues I got to work with was Kenny Atkinson. And we had an incredible film session once where he's like, hey, just so we're all clear, every one of you guys wants to be the point guard. Every single one of you has told me that you're the point guard or you're a point guard, that the last teamer in high school or whatever. So just for the record, let's define what the point guard is. The point guard is the guy that makes the right decisions and then does it again and then does it again. And whoever that guy is on our team, I'm happy to call you the point guard. And guess who's going to get the ball at the most crucial times? The one that we're most confident is going to be able to reliably make the right decision. I don't know if that's going to lead to Jacob Holt running the point, but I'm going to give him a shot. So I loved that answer to the question.
Yeah.
Because again, he wasn't giving anything. He wasn't saying he needs to be able to dribble well and score 25 points a game and have this great eye and, be able to pass well. He just said he needs to make good decisions and then make another good decision and then
Yeah.
make another good decision. And that is something that we can see. So we as fans can watch and go, yeah, he made a good decision. And no, he didn't make a good decision, and he didn't. Or he stacked 10 good decisions on top of each other then. I can see why he's the point guard now. And so he's giving us something tangible, which is just a great answer.
Yeah.
And then I asked a last question because I just needed to know. I got Mal Watts off the bench and said, Angel Reese, how on earth does Angel Reese come to Australia and decide that she's going to sign as an ownership part of the ownership group with the Brisbane Bullets? This is a 24-year-old multi-millionaire extraordinary woman, and she's decided that Brisbane is the team she's going to invest in. And this is again where we have to give credit where it's due.
Yep.
This one came from Jason Levian. So she has other investments with Jason Levian, and he said, Mal Watts answered and said, the timing of the Angel announcement the other week was a coincidence. He said, Jason Levian. I know there's a lot of talk about Jason. I mean, he's incredibly engaged. He's been working constantly to help bring this guy, Will Weaver, in. But Angel Reese is a partner of Jason's in a women's league back in the States. So one thing led to another. He caught up with Angel, let her know what we're up to, and she was like, hey, that sounds like something that really aligns with my values and what I like to be involved in. So Mal said, you think of us over here in Australia on a little island that we're proud of, and to be able to bring someone like that into support in that bit of the process she's really here to champion the WNBL license. Yeah, it was great. And she's met with Mal and the team and ownership group, and she's incredibly engaged, incredibly passionate about lifting up women's sport as we are. So that process is, he said, we're going to have some more positive news coming everyone's way soon. And that'll be set up as a sister club to us. So we should hear on that. I don't think they'll be able to be in the next season. It might be the season after. They've got Tassie
so.
coming in this season. Yeah, so it will be the season after. And something else Mal said that was pretty exciting. He said, I've tried to allude to the last couple of years. There's a couple of major announcements coming, which hopefully gives me a bit more credibility that I've been doing a bit more work on the side than everyone's aware of. But it's exciting. It's really exciting. It's a really exciting time.
My hope is the new stadium on that one. That's where my mind went. So
well, it would have to be a new stadium, and it would have to be a WNBL team.
Yeah, so those two things. Yeah.
Yeah, on Mal's side of things, that's what it would need to be.
And yeah, on that Angel Reese thing, I'm with you. It's great, absolutely amazing that she's, taking up that partnership on that prospective ownership team. And I know, she can be that there are a lot of people out there that dislike her, and whether you like her game or not, when you actually
know why.
I know. But when you actually look at what she has done off the court and so forth, you can see that she is very business savvy, very intelligent at what she is doing. There's no way, and I think you even said this on a WNBA contract, that you could be having being part ownership in teams if you're not business savvy off the court. So.
Absolutely. She's done incredible things, and she is an incredible woman. I mean, they've just passed their new CBA agreement, which means they've changed history as of a couple of days ago, which is so exciting for everyone in the WNBA. Those who are saying she's not a great player have no idea what they're talking about. Every single player in the WNBA is an amazing player. Like, just the level is there. And then there are the greats in the WNBA. So anyone who's like, everyone was like, oh, you'll be building bricks. I'm like, oh, try and play against her. Like, whatever, Trevor. Like, it's just, give her I'm so sick of people harping on about women being hopeless and that they can't do it. She is 24 years old. 24 years old. She is a multi-millionaire. She is choosing to put her money into women's sport. And anyone who has got anything negative to say will come up. I will have a go at you for that. I will not stop. Because I just think it's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. If she wants to invest in women's sport and the Brisbane Bullets, I say she's now on the top of my love list.
Absolutely.
And she's just done great things playing for the USA, her and Paige and Caitlin Clark just did. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was the three we always wanted to see play together, and we got to see it in the Women's World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
There's so many great things that's happening. So that is what happened in the members forum, and we are up to date. That's what we know as of now.
Did you want to mention the petition?
Oh, that's what I wanted to mention. I was going to say that before. And so I don't even know if it will be needed, because Mel said that the announcement will be coming soon, but we did start a petition, because we love to start a petition. And Mel said there's a few people in here that, can do petitions. And I just had a little bit of a chuckle. I said, yeah, but this one's working for you, not against you. And we have started a petition, and the petition is to show our support as a basketball public for a Brisbane WNBL team. So you can find it on our socials. It is posted there. Please go and find it. Please sign it, and please share it with your basketball club. Yeah. I'm going to do a socials post, and I'm going to say, please tag your club. Send it to your club. Get everyone signing this. One thing that Mal Watts said that I really liked, because I'd said in previous podcasts when we talked about a WNBL team, do not tell me that men are organising how this women's team is going to go. He's like, let women champion this. And he said he has already been, or they have already been speaking to women from Southeast Queensland who are playing in other NBL, WNBL sides, because they can't play at home because they don't have a team, and asking them what they want. So women's voices are being heard. So this is going to transform basketball for girls and women in Southeast Queensland. So please get behind this. And yeah, sign the petition. I already emailed the club and said, here's the link. We'll get it going, and we'll keep championing it, and you can just tack in on the numbers, so that whoever they're talking to, wherever they're talking to in government, they need to be able to show the Queensland government to get funding and the rights to the license, etc., that they've got the public support. So get in there and sign that petition, please.
Absolutely. Do it.
All right. So that's it for now. That's what happened in the members forum. I don't think we'll be back. I don't think I'll be back. I don't think Bullets Nation podcast will be back again for a while now. But if you do want to listen to a basketball podcast, where can they go, Cam?
They can head on over to Inside the Keyway on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and you'll see myself and my friend Nathan weekly at the moment.
Fantastic. So go and get your basketball fix over there.
I will say this week's episode that is coming will be there'll be a review, season review on the Bullets, but not by me. I'm passing that off to my co-host Nathan. I think everyone's heard me talk way too much about the Bullets this season.
Yeah. Imagine what it's going to be like at the end of next season. Beautiful. Well, thanks, Cam. Thanks for jumping in.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thanks to the Bullets for having that members forum.
Yes,
we loved it.
Absolutely.
Love everything you're doing there, and there's just a renewed optimism for this season. So credit where it's due. Well done, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this episode. I have no idea when I'm going to see you next, but we will be back one day on Bullets Nation.
See ya.